My parents forgot me on their wedding day, and now that I exposed them, they're furious. I just feel so angry and need to vent. I know this sounds strange, but I just feel so hurt. What will happen next will shock you. So, I, 17F, was recently forgotten about on the day of my parents' wedding. My parents have been together for about 25 years, but they never actually got married. That's why, when my dad, 50M, proposed to my mother, 49F, on their anniversary, which they've always celebrated on the date my mother found out she was pregnant with my eldest sister, everyone, including me, was elated and celebrated the occasion with great joy. This happened all the way back in February. They immediately jumped into wedding planning, deciding very early on to have a small event in Hawaii with just close family and friends for an intimate ceremony. Almost immediately, my mother asked my sister, 25F, to be her maid of honor, and my dad asked my brother, 22M, to be his groomsman. I wasn't surprised or offended by this. My sister had always been a mommy's girl, and they both enjoyed spending time together shopping and socializing, so they had a very close bond. The same goes for my father and brother. They always played football together and worked on cars. My father even coached my brother's team for a while in middle school. That always left me as the odd one out. I tried to insert myself into my family's hobbies and group.
Never neglect your damn kids, even if you don't have nothing in common with them. Try to find something. Don't just toss them to the side for your other child. Jesus Christ.
Groups, but I was always rebuffed. Maybe they could sense that my interest in their activities wasn't all that genuine, or maybe they just didn't care. Either way, I was used to being the last and least important member of my family. Mom had sis, dad had bro, my parents had each other, and my two siblings were closer to each other than they ever were to me, leaving me very lonely and isolated in my own home. During the preparation for the wedding, it was initially suggested that I be the flower girl, but my sister thought that role would be more appropriate for her daughter, 3F, so that idea was quickly tossed out. Later on, my maternal grandmother suggested that I might read a poem or give a little speech during the ceremony, but both my parents refused because they wanted the wedding to be low-key, and they didn't think a cheesy and sappy speech would fit their vision, their literal words. I was still okay with all of this, even though it hurt to know I would be the only member of the family not actually part of the wedding party or have any role at all on the day. As the day approached, my parents and siblings got more and more caught up in the wedding planning. I noticed my mom didn't invite me dress shopping and that whenever they had discussions about the venue or the event, I was left out. So I decided to see if they would realize that I wasn't being involved at all and kept quiet, waiting for them to ask me something, anything, about the wedding. But that never happened. The wedding was set for 3 weeks ago, at the end of August. The day before the departure, my mother casually asked if I had my luggage ready because we couldn't be late to the airport. I bluntly told her that I hadn't prepared anything. She got confused for a second and then snapped at me for not being prepared. I then asked her if I even had a ticket, and her face went pale. Yep, they hadn't even bought me a ticket.
Wow.
I'm not even sure if I had a room or any accommodations once there.
Disgusting.
Even though I was the only person in my family without a stable income, I work as a part-time babysitter. My parents had bought first-class tickets for my siblings and a couple of other friends attending the wedding but had forgotten me. My mom told me not to make a big deal out of it and that they could just find me a low-cost, last-minute ticket from a cheap airline. I just replied by asking her, then what do I even have a dress for the ceremony? She had gone with sis to buy dresses for her and all the other female guests months ago, but I wasn't included. That's when my father came in and just told me to suck it up and that I've never been a girly girl.
Suck it up. Okay.
So I could just wear whatever. I got mad at this because, even though I'm not the most feminine girl on the planet, I would have loved to be included in such an important part of my parents' wedding. It wasn't about the dress. It was about the fact that I was excluded from literally everything that had been going on for months. We all got into a fight, with them calling me entitled and accusing me of making myself small intentionally so they would forget me, like that is a valid excuse for ignoring a child. They ended up telling me that if I was going to keep this attitude, I might as well skip the whole thing altogether, to which I responded with a defiant fine and went to my room.
This is her family talking to her like this. This is mad.
The next morning, they all left for Hawaii without me. The ceremony was really small, but they all posted loads of pictures on Instagram and Facebook about how perfect and magical that whole week was.
Perfect.
People quickly realized that I wasn't in any of the photos and asked my parents why. They
Because they're
replied,
trash.
unfortunately, I had caught COVID before the trip and had to stay behind.
Of course they
My blood
lied.
boiled at this. I don't know why this was the straw that broke the camel's back for me, but it was.
Wait,
I decided to take a COVID test and posted a picture of myself holding the negative test, captioned, not sick at all. Just forgotten. I tagged everyone.
Not forgotten.
That had...
So I love them when they basically tell everyone that they're assholes. I don't like when they just be timid and don't say nothing or do nothing about it.
Questioned my absence from the trip and the wedding in the picture, and for good measure, also every person invited to it. I also wrote in the comments about how my parents had literally forgotten about anything to do with me until the day before leaving, and how they actually uninvited me. Most people were on my side, and others couldn't believe it, thinking there must be something more to the story than what I was saying. But one thing is for certain, I completely ruined my parents' wedding, and their day was overshadowed by my confession. At first, I felt quite satisfied with myself for standing up on my own, but after a barrage of messages from my family calling me every name in the book, and later when they came back, furiously attacking me for my immature actions and spoiled behavior, my pride deflated quickly, and I began to feel awful. I hate my family, and I hate being in this house, but I'm a minor and can't leave just yet. I do feel like I could have handled the situation better, though, and now I feel so depressed that I'm second-guessing everything I did, from not speaking up before to the way I exposed them.
Yes.
I also
Not speaking up before, because the longer it goes on, the more they're gonna get comfortable doing this shit.
feel guilty about the lack of connection between my family and me, and maybe I could have done more. So, am I the a-hole for ruining my parents' wedding when they forgot about me? Hi, everyone. I wanted to write an update earlier, but I'm still kind of a mess at the moment. However, I figured since my post had such an overwhelming response and so many people commented and sent me messages, I should write about the latest developments. First of all, let me start by thanking everyone who commented on my post
Fuck, I
and
don't have
shared
no
their own
weapons.
experiences or points of view on my situation. Thank you so much. A few days ago, I could barely find the energy to get out of bed, and my family's comments had made me really believe I was guilty for everything that had happened.
Really?
But after seeing the responses to my post and all the support you guys were giving me, I felt somewhat reaffirmed in my actions and feelings toward my family. I'm still fighting feelings of guilt and depression, but whenever I start to spiral, I think of how much this community of strangers has had my back, and I try to calm myself down with your words.
That's another thing I really love about Reddit. How positive, like 90% of people are. Like from all the Reddit stories I've heard, most of them give like constructive advice.
Thanks to your input and advice, I finally decided to call my grandma and tell her the full story. Just to clarify a point before going on, I mentioned this in the comments but feel I should include it here too. My grandma, 77F, did not attend the wedding. She lives several states away and has mobility issues, so she
yeah.
doesn't travel
That's
anymore.
also.
We visited her around Easter, and that's when she commented that I might read a poem at the ceremony, but that was the last time I saw her in person before all this. She's always been very loving to me and has called out my parents in the past for their favoritism, but it's hard for her to play a more active role in my upbringing since she lives so far away. I also worry about bothering her due to her age and health condition. She had a minor stroke a few years ago and is now back to normal, but I still worry. Anyway, I called her and laid out everything that had happened with the wedding and how my parents didn't even buy me a ticket to go with them. She came to the same conclusion that most commenters did when I told her, that it was simply impossible they had forgotten, and that they did it on purpose.
Oh
I
yes.
cried on the phone with her, laying out how I was feeling, how this has been going on forever, how I feel
I thought you were gonna say that was impossible that they would do that.
in the aftermath, and most importantly, about my need to get out. She was extremely sweet and comforting, telling me I had nothing else to worry about because she had my back 100%.
Damn it.
She told me to take it easy, make plans for my future, and that she'd help me. After that 2-hour conversation, I felt better, and I decided to listen to her advice and start figuring something out for the next school year. I have a friend who's going to lease a studio near our future campus. She has a great relationship with her parents, but she has 5 younger siblings and wants to be more independent, which is why she decided to move out. I asked if I could move in with her temporarily, and that I would pay rent once I got a job. She immediately accepted and told me not to worry about rent or anything else until I was in a better position. We had a good cry together when I told her all about my parents' wedding
That's
incident.
stick drift,
So,
man.
this all happened a couple of days ago, and I was planning on posting the update then, but my grandma called my parents and siblings to lecture them about how they were treating me. My brother sent me a text afterward with a half-hearted apology, saying he didn't know I wasn't included and that he just thought I wouldn't have fun on the trip. He also accused me of
Liar.
posting the picture just to create drama.
Liar.
My sister, on the other hand, berated me, saying I kept making my problems public and blaming the family when they were all innocent.
How?
Things have been weird with my parents since they got back from the trip. At first, they berated me and were furious, but now we're just ignoring each other. After my grandma called them, they came into my room and told me that if I wanted to put this issue to rest, I
Ugh.
should shut up about it and that this could have already blown
Shut
over
up.
if I had just kept my mouth shut.